So I got the opportunity to ride this sucker for a few days. I picked it up on Sunday and it's Wednesday now, so I've had a few days on it. And I've just tidied it up, got it back to scratch and ready to go back to the owner. So first of all, shout out to you, man. Thank you very much for letting me ride this, because I've wanted to ride one for a long time. I have ridden one before, but it was like the low model, and it was only a lap around in the wet. So it was nice to be able to tickle around and go back and forth with some setup and see how it goes. Get an idea. Obviously, you don't learn everything about a bike in a couple of days. Say 4 or 5, 6, 7 or 8 runs, but you get a feel. So the first thing I'll address is the pressure needed for the rear shock on this bike is quite high. So if you're a heavier guy, I don't know if it's the best bike for you. It's the only bike I've ever ridden that's required this much pressure in order to hold me up. So I'm 75 kilos and I'm running 255 psi in this rear shock with a 0.6 spacer. It's a DPX2 factory edition, so it's got independent low speed compression and rebound and 3-position lockout, obviously. And so there's a little bit odd that I had to run so much pressure, but it's just because of the design of the suspension. Now we've also got a Cascade components link here, which takes it from, I believe, 14% progression to 24%, which also requires a little bit of extra pressure, probably 20 psi, 10 to 20 psi more. Not sure if it's necessary or not. I didn't test it without the other linkage, but being that you're already at high pressure here, I think you just stick with the air shock and tune it with the spacers. Don't worry about the link. 24% is top end of coil territory. 20% is like probably home run coil. 18 to 24% is home run coil territory. But there's also other factors which I didn't really consider too much. The fact that you need so much pressure in order to create support through this frame, I'd have to stew on that more and see exactly why it is. It's got something to do with the leverage ratio, how much of the frame catches travel versus how much of the shock catches travel or manipulates travel. Fox 36, we got this thing at 170 as far as I know. So it takes the head angle from 66 to probably closer to 65. Felt pretty good. It felt a little bit steep when I was tipping it into Waterfall Gully DH, which I wouldn't, if you're not a great rider, I definitely wouldn't recommend riding a bike like this down there, or riding down there at all. It's pretty sketchy, and there's no turn off, there's no, I'm just going to pull off, and I think I'm out of my depth here. Once you're in, you're in. You got to make it one way or another, so, and it sucks to walk down. So handling wise, I feel like the bottom bracket was fairly low, gave me a good controlled position. I rode it as a mullet for the first few days and today as a 29er. So in the mullet configuration, it was excellent. The back end suspension was fairly calm. It was fun. The fork needed a service. It wasn't excellent, but it was good. So I pulled that apart this morning and went out today with a fresh spring, spring cleaned out and lowers service. Didn't touch the damper, so felt better. One token, it's funny. So I was running one token at 103 psi for the most of the test, which was good. And then today I ran one token at 98, which feels like I should have gone to 101 maybe. It was just a little bit light, but doing the service and changing the spring, putting a little bit of SRAM butter or slick honey on top of or slick oleum on top of the piston, made for maybe half a token that wasn't in there previously before I serviced the spring. So it's as if I've got a token and a half, which is my old one token equivalent, because I always put about half a token worth of grease on top of the piston, so when I service these. So fork went alright. Suspension performance out the back. In the 27.5 it felt nice and smooth, was able to charge. When I went to 29er, I've also gone 29er and these tyres, so it's a little bit of an inaccurate comparison, but more choppy, which I find with most 29ers out the back. The 29er versus the 27.5 out the back is more choppy. Rolls over stuff better, so the stuff that you're going to roll over anyway, it'll roll over, but the hits that you have to take, the wheel has to, you've got bigger wheel more inertia, more rubber to move out of the way every time you hit a bump. So that is what I think creates the more harshness of a 29er, which you can dial out. You tune for it and whatever. If you couldn't dial it out, they wouldn't be making 29s. So not an issue, but to me, I preferred it as a mullet. The bike felt calmer and a little bit more capable, but it was also fun as a full 29er today. I won't say it's more capable as a 27.5. I will take that back because I think these tyres were choppy. These tyres were real choppy. So I ran the Assegai and DHF or the Dissector. I ran the Dissector for the first couple of days and then a DHF on the back for the second day. First day Dissector, second day DHF. Both of those tyres are more compliant, lighter, and these tyres made the bike feel choppy. So those two tyres I ran at 23 at the front with cush core, 26 at the back with cush core. These ones I'm running at, it's probably 20 at the front and it's 24 at the back, no cush core, and they are harsh. They are harsh. It feels like I can go less pressure to take a little bit of chop out of the casing of the tyres. The casing of the tyre that makes them harsh. But if I was to do that, I'd absolutely want a tyre insert because on one of the rocks on Twisted Gum, when I kind of bumped into a square edge of a rock, I felt the tyre compress and almost compress to the rim. So at a harder hit, I would have dinged his rim. So I definitely wouldn't run these tyres lower pressure without a cush core. So I'm not into the casing of these tyres. I think they're too harsh. The grip, first lap, a little bit slippery. And then they scrubbed in. So there's definitely a scrubbing period with these Michelin tyres. Once they scrubbed in, they hooked up excellent. This grip, DH22, DH34 combo is really, really good. The DH34 Bike Park I've tested before, it wasn't that good. Like I said, I've only done a day on these tyres, so this is by no means a review. But yeah, the Bros motor, this is something I'm not into that much. The Bros motor feels, it's nice and quiet on the climb. It does a little bit of run on, which I haven't really noticed on other e-bikes. I didn't really notice it on the Trek, but that was a while ago, with the Bosch motor. And I definitely didn't notice it on the Shimano Steps motor. It's not the same thing. And the power, the way the power comes on, it feels like you use more energy on this. And the run on it's always pulling me. If you saw the climbing video I did on this, it's always pulling, and it gave me it was giving me arm jack, like I was doing too many pulling motions. I was getting pulled. So not overly impressed with the Bros motor. It is more powerful. They say it's higher power, higher output, torque, whatever. But I don't know, it didn't feel that natural. It didn't feel that natural. When you hit limiter, it slows down. So let's say limiter's 25 k's an hour. You hit the limiter, and then it slows. You're stuck in the mud, and then as you climb, you'll be stuck in the mud all the way back to 20 or 19 or 18 k's an hour, and then it kicks in again. So you slow down, and then it kicks in, and that's really not intuitive. The Shimano motor is always there for you, even though it's a little bit less powerful. I don't think the Shimano is my favourite. I think the Bosch was my favourite motor, to be honest. I think that felt the most like, oh yeah, this feels killer. Like, yeah, it just felt natural. SQ Labs saddle, this actually wasn't too bad. These are very expensive, and I do not agree with having to pay that much for something that doesn't make a drastic difference. Comparing it to my standard, the best saddle that I've used, the WTB Volt in a medium and a 142 width, I think. This is similar. It's a little bit more, ever so slightly more uncomfortable. Ever so slightly uncomfortable compared to the WTB Volt. So I definitely rate the Volt over this, but it's close second for sure. And I don't know if there's too many other saddles. The Ergon I've tried. I'd have to spend more time on an Ergon that suits me to know whether I like that, but yeah, that was okay. But so, I mean, let's be honest, this isn't really a bike review. It's just my thoughts on what I did and what I rode. So I came with a carbon bar, I took that off. I don't trust carbon bars. I've seen way too many snap. So put my Bontrager bars on, which were fine. They got like a 9 back, 4 up sweep, which I don't know if I don't like that sweep, but I got used to it pretty much straight away. I think it's way more important to have your bar roll in the right position than have those sweep numbers perfect. So, oh no, I need a 5 and a 7, or I need a 4 and a 9, or I need a 5 8. It's more important to make sure your bar roll is in the best position for handling relative to how you ride. So, yeah, I was happy with it. The battery in this thing is huge. It's got a 700 something watt hour battery, and the kilometers I did today, which was, I should have checked, but I did a fair few. Climbed all the way up to Ewok from the bottom of Waterfall Gully Road. So that's 500 metres of vertical or something, 400 metres of vertical. Back down, down Ewok, down Bullock Track, or half the Bullock Track because it was hailing and icy. And then dropped into Twisted twice. So I did 2 laps of Twisted Gum, Twisted and then come back up and then Twisted. So it might have been a 20 something K ride. And I've still got, let's say we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines. I've used 1, 2, 3, used 3 lines of battery out of 10. So, and that was in boost all day. So the thing's pimp. The battery and the longevity you get out of this bike is pimp. They do blow shocks. They snap shafts on shocks. They're troublesome because there's a lot of flex that goes through. I won't do it, but there's a lot of side flex that goes through that shock, so I don't like that either. There's a fair bit of cable rattle on this bike, which could probably be tidied up internally here underneath the switchboard, whatever you call it. Room for a drink bottle, which is absolutely essential. Some of these bikes still don't have drink bottles. The majority of them do now. Like adequate space for a drink bottle, not just we've got drink bottle mounts and you put a little kid's bottle in there. So I like that. I appreciate that. The carbon just felt like a bike. It just felt like a bike. It didn't feel weak to me. It didn't feel strong. It was noisy. It was a little bit clicky, to be honest. Like a little bit. I think it just needed a wash, because it's really not. It's not making anywhere near the noise that it was. It probably just needed a wash. So it was just creaky and cracky and obviously cable rattle. So overall, the bike was good. I had fun on it. Would I buy one? Absolutely not. Definitely not. I'm not. I'm too interested in the hard work of just riding my bike and the reward of that to get an e-bike. But on the other side of that fence, I would way prefer to have an e-bike instead of a normal bike because the climbs are way quicker. I can still get the same amount of energy burned. I just get way more laps in. But I don't like the idea of having to charge it, having to rely on electricity, having to rely on like an electronic motor. If that goes, my bike's out of action for however long. If I forget to charge it, I can't go for a ride. I hate the stuck in the mud feeling of riding these things at 20 plus 25 k's an hour. I definitely, if I did have one, I'd absolutely run a hack or whatever you do to de-restrict them, or at least extend the restriction to like a 32 at least, or 35 k's an hour, because I can pedal my normal bike faster on the flat parts of the climbs than I can on this, and this thing's got a motor and a battery, so I don't really enjoy that too much. But yeah, you can hack them easy as, it's no worries, you can buy the stuff that you need. Yeah, comparing it to, so the Santa Cruz Heckler is killer. I love that bike. Outperforms this for sure, but different geometry, so maybe different applications anyway. This is more of an all-round trail bike, so it's not super fair to compare it like that. The Merida E160, I don't know. I don't know if I think I prefer the E160. I definitely prefer the E160 for the suspension, the ease of tuning regardless of your weight. You can, if you're a heavier guy, you're going to still find a setup on the air shock. Price wise, the Merida comes in better, obviously a little bit better for a good spec. I like that this came with Eagle. I like that this has got an Eagle cassette on it. Got 155 cranks and I'll still clipping the ground. I don't know if it's a wider stance or it's just a really low bottom bracket at 30% sag, which was, this is a 55mm stroke shot, being a Cascade upstroked on the rear shock, so a little bit more travel. It kind of is set up as a baller, so it's 170 front, 150-ish on the rear, I can't remember what it is, but yeah, 55mm stroke, 30%, 16.5mm of sag. At 17mm, 16 to 17mm, I was scratching pedals on the sides of the trails. So, yeah, low bottom bracket. Corners well, corners no worries, but I did have a little trouble rolling it over, laying it over for corners. So, I don't know whether that was not sure what that was. I thought maybe it was head angle, but I'm not too sure. I think it's maybe all of this weight up here, all of this battery up here could be playing a part. So, but overall, wicked bike, had a lot of fun, and yeah, if I had more time, I probably could have got the fork singing even more. I probably could have gone a little bit more experimentation with the rear shock to get it absolutely sailing. But I think a 0.2 spacer or a 0.4 maybe if you go on 29. If you go on 29er, 0.2 or 0.4. If you go on 27.5, 0.6 for sure. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I've got to say about the bike. I loved it. I had some fun. I always love getting on an e-bike. You give me the crappiest e-bike and I'd still have a ball on it because it's an e-bike. It's a lot of fun. You get up the trail real quick. You can punch out heaps of laps in a short period of time. And for us working class slaves, we need to crunch our time. So if it's up your alley, definitely get an e-bike. Don't be worried. Oh, it's cheating and. People will tell you it's cheating, e-bikes are cheating. Doesn't matter. It's just noise, it's just like your neighbour playing loud heavy metal music. It's just noise, just ignore it. It's not cheating. What's cheating is not doing what you want to do with your life. That's cheating. It's cheating yourself. Not having the things you want, not earning the things you want. So get out and earn it, and if you want one, get one. Don't worry about what the missus says. Better to ask for forgiveness than permission.